ladies and gentlemen, what's happening? Happy Sunday. We are studentloanjustice.org. We are the first, oldest, largest, truly grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. Hope everybody's doing well out there in the world tonight. We have good news. The good news is that we will have a companion bill in the House of Representatives to S-2598. If you have any questions or comments and you're watching us on Facebook and or Twitter, and if I can see them, I will gladly respond to them. I'm looking around for my good glasses. These are like, I think these are like girl glasses or something. But so the good news I just told you. Now let me back up for a minute. If you're new to the group, you're probably like, bankruptcy, why is that good? It's very good. If you've been, like us, studying the student loan problem forever and ever, you would know that we will not see anything good from the Biden administration, from the Department of Education, unless and until we get the constitutionally enshrined threat of bankruptcy returned to us. Founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to raise an army, ahead of the power to coin currency, ahead of many other very important powers. So believe you me, the founders kind of knew what they were talking about when they called for bankruptcy. Now, whether you would ever or never file really doesn't matter. Most people don't want to file. Very few people probably will file. Very few people should have to file when we get the right return. It's just having the threat of bankruptcy that undergirds this whole entire student loan scam. And it is a scam. And if you don't believe me, go to our Medium page and read any article, like almost any article, and you can see what a scam student loans, both federal and private, are in this country. Studentloanjustice.medium.com. Hey, maybe before I get into the meat of tonight's presentation, let me say, if you could donate right now, that would be very helpful, guys. We can do what we do on very little funding, like essentially nothing compared to what our opposition spends against us. We can do it on very little, guys. We can't do it on nothing. Cannot do it on nothing. So your moderate support is extremely helpful at this time. Hey, I might also add, since we're shilling right now, get a hat. These are purposely distressed hats. They're collector's items. Thanks to Lisa Ansel in Los Angeles for organizing this. We only do swag like very rarely, guys, but it would appear that we're on a wave crescendoing up to something very big right now. So now would be the time to support us, I think, if you ever were going to do that. So thank you. I'm looking for your comments now. So here's the deal, guys. We've got a bill in the Senate, S-2598. The bill will return standard bankruptcy protections, essentially as they are for all other loans, for all federal student loan debt that is more than 10 years old. So you may have consolidated a few months ago. It's still fine. So that's the Senate bill. We are going to have a House bill, the number of which has yet to be designated. The bill will be introduced and debated this month, so it will be before October technically, but the bill will not pass, will not be signed into law by the time early voting begins. That's really bad on the Democrats, by the way. They kind of should have had their what together a little better, I would have hoped. So I don't know, and we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, by the way. Whatever your political leanings are, you're very welcome in this group. We basically hate both parties at this point. But anyways, we were hoping to get this bill passed and signed into law before early voting begins, because that's kind of the way you would think it would be, right? But anyways, we can't control that. As long as we get it passed this year, that's the important thing. Quite frankly, I think the Democrats are idiots because they've got a serious headwind in these upcoming elections. Things have been trending quite better for them in recent weeks. Here's probably the coolest thing that I have to report to you tonight. So on August 23rd, the day before Joe Biden announced his lame loan cancellation, and I can talk about why that loan cancellation is lame, but whatever. It seems to have worked with a lot of people out there, because it is true that somewhere around half of all borrowers have $20,000 or less in student loan debt. So on August 23rd, the generic ballot poll, so the generic sort of D versus R poll that is publicized at 538.com, I believe it's called. It's a polling thing. Day before Biden makes that announcement, the Republicans and the Democrats were neck and neck. I think one was slightly ahead of the other. I think the Republicans may have been slightly ahead of the Democrats. But if you look like 2 to 3, maybe a month before Biden made that cancellation, the Democrats were down significantly to the Republicans. And if you go 4 months ago, the Democrats were very down to the Republicans. So anyways, on August 24th, I believe the day that Biden made that announcement, they were essentially tied. Well, right after that date, the Democrats pulled away from the Republicans to where the last I checked, the Democrats were ahead by like 1.2 percentage points. And that's a very big spread in the space of like 2.5 weeks. And what else are you going to attribute to that to? I don't know. I didn't really notice anything huge in the news that would have particularly helped Biden. I think there may have been a slightly good jobs report or something, but I think that we can attribute that primarily to his student loan thing. I mean, that was the thing that was blowing up in the media and so forth. So how about that, guys? Despite the media being against us, probably 90%, despite our opposition wagging their finger and lying and exaggerating and misconstruing and basically blowing bullshit into the zeitgeist. Student loan cancellation is going to benefit the wealthy. Student loan cancellation is going to cause inflation. Both of those things are absolutely provably false, by the way. Watch us on Fox News. Go to our website. The main thing you see us on Fox News a couple weeks ago. You can see how that's just nonsense. But really, if you go to our Medium channel, studentloanjustice.medium.com, you can see all of the haters' lame protestations put to bed and buried because they're fake and they're false and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. But even despite all that massive bluster and bluff from our opposition, even still, Joe Biden and the Democrats put some very serious distance between them and the Republicans, I think, on the weight of that lame student loan cancellation gimmick. And if you want to know why we're not super hot about that loan cancellation gimmick, I'm happy to maybe talk about it a little bit. But okay, guys, I'm looking for your comments now, I promise. And I'm going to try and keep it pretty short. This week, guys, in fact, between now and the last week in September, we're already on September 11th. So let's say for the next 3 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to prep the ground. Our opposition is freaked out right now. If you haven't noticed, do a news search for Google and student loans, and you'll just see all the hate spewing from them like nothing we've ever seen before. Don't worry about all that stuff. I know I just said look at it, but look at it just to be amused. Don't be worried. Most of all, do not be distracted. That's the worst thing that you could do now, is allow yourself to be distracted by all the nonsense. The nonsense surrounding Joe Biden's student loan cancellation, the nonsense surrounding just everything. So, oh shit, I'm looking at the wrong live stream here. So here is the marching orders for us, guys. And by the way, we're the only group of any size actually fighting this battle. The other groups are frankly fake. They're full of shit, guys. I'm sorry. I've been doing this 17.5 years. I really don't have to hold my tongue, and I won't. The other groups out there are just fake extraordinaire. They're like popping the champagne corks over this lame cancellation. They say almost not a word about bankruptcy, which is very suspicious, I might add. Bankruptcy lies at the core of this battle, ladies and gentlemen. So our marching orders going forward are very simple. We've got to hit the House Judiciary Committee hard. All of the members, but mostly the Republican members. People like, I don't have them off the top of my head. People like, I don't know, like Ken Buck and Louis Gohmert out of Texas. Isn't that his name? Louis Gohmert. Yeah, I think that's right. People like Jim Jordan of Ohio, very important guy on this. Look at the House Judiciary Committee, see the Republicans there, and you can see who we need to come after. And if you live in any of those states, Ohio, Texas, many others, Kenny Marchant rings a bell for some reason. Though, and then you should be live in any of those states. Ohio, Texas, you should be doing far more than just like our daily actions and stuff. And let me back up again. I'm sorry if I'm kind of scattered tonight, guys, but a lot is going on, so I apologize. Do our daily actions. The most important thing you or anyone can do is our daily actions. We've got a massive muscle to flex. We've got over 1 million people on our petition, on our Facebook group, on our email, on all of our other platforms. Got like 3 or 4 million people. If everybody, or if even 10%, even 1 out of 10 of everybody was doing our daily actions, we would have this bill passed probably by the second week in October. Can you imagine if 100,000 people a day were blowing up all the Twitter accounts that we target? If they were blowing up the phones of the congressional offices that we target, 100,000 people a day would shut down phone banks, whatever. It would shut down the phone system of these House Judiciary members. So guys, what you do fucking matters. Pardon my French, but it really does. These are your loans. This is your problem. I know the other groups out there are clinking the champagnes and they're like, oh, no, don't do anything. You know, the bad guys, our opposition guys, you know what they want you doing? They want you doing nothing. They want you sitting there distracted, amused, whatever, entertained. They want you sitting on your ass reading Forbes magazine or any of the other nonsense, which is 90% of all the media out there, nonsense out there. They want you watching, waiting, and worrying and expecting that somebody else is going to pull your weight for you. That never happens. It's never happened, never will happen. That's not the way this works. You got to put in your own weight on this group. And at the minimum, you should be doing our daily actions. But frankly, you should be doing a lot more than that, because after all, these are your loans. This is your problem. And we're not babysitters here, guys. It's not like you can go, hey, you go, Al, and hey, can you get me a piece of pizza while you're up? That's not what this fucking is, guys. This is your livelihood. This is your life. These are your student loans that are hanging in the balance here. The Democrats have a historically unique, rare, haven't seen it since the first term of Obama in 2008, opportunity to actually fix this problem by returning bankruptcy to these loans. And I say Democrats only because they control the House and the Senate. But frankly, guys, we've seen a massive groundswell of Republicans, people from the Federalist Society, or whatever they call themselves these days, the Cato Institute, George Mason University, all these conservative places. And even just in the past 2 months, we've seen probably at least a half a dozen articles. In the past 3 months, I'd say we've seen a full baker's dozen of articles from conservatives calling for the return of bankruptcy protection to student loans. That bodes very well for us, guys. We got screwed on this in 2008, by the way. The Democrats were supposed to return bankruptcy in 2008. And we were a far smaller group back then. Nobody got off their ass. Nobody did anything. And lo and behold, the Blue Dog Democrats screwed us in 2008. And here we are, 14 years later, bankruptcy is still gone. Those were long years, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to go another 14 years because we got screwed because the people on our group didn't step up and do their part. So if your student loans are at all important to you, and I think they are if you're watching this, and you haven't done anything to help us in this fight, then you better get off your ass. And to everybody I see here tonight, Bonnie and Michael and Doug and Joanna and Vanjie and Jerry and many other people here, and Cooper, I salute you. I see you guys out there on Twitter, on Facebook, etc. I see you out there doing the work. We are the veterans. We're the pioneers. We wouldn't have this bankruptcy bill but for this group. We wouldn't even be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order. That thing Biden did, as lame as it was, that would never have happened but for this group. I kid you not. That whole student loan cancellation by executive order concept started with our group. So you have no idea how important this group actually is. And that's only meaningful in as much as our members actually get their knuckles dirty and maybe a little bloody and actually help us in this fight. You can't sit there and wait and watch and worry and expect it. Anybody else is going to pull your weight for you. So I'm done browbeating. Let's get to the comments, shall we? And yeah, I'm in a very good mood, guys, because we were waiting a long time for news about this companion bill. And now we've got it. And so I can only say you better get ready because it's going to be going fast and furious from here on out. And we're going to need you on the top of your game. At a minimum, you should be doing those daily actions every day. That's a very minimum. You can do more than that. You're smart. You've been to college. We're clever. We can call our own. We can make stuff happen in our own local areas. We can call our local news organizations, our local newspapers, our local radio stations, our local television stations, and we can tell them you need to report on this legislation that will return bankruptcy protections to student loans. We can find people. We are at your beck and call. We can find people in your area with very compelling stories to tell, willing to be interviewed. We can talk to anyone about why bankruptcy is so important. But it all starts with you. It all starts with you. So Anna Cooper says, great news. Vanjie says, repeat the good news. We do indeed have a companion bill coming, Vanjie. A companion bill to S-2598 in the House of Representatives. Hey, Bonnie Valance says, what about the hedge funds which Congress may be involved in the college racket be in? Private investors gain from the high cost of education and the student loan racket. Bonnie, that used to be very, very true. Circa like 2009, almost all federal student loans, except for like Perkins loans, they were sliced and diced. They were bundled and sold on Wall Street. That was a real thing. And investors really called a lot of shots. Sally Mae and all these dark money, quiet, big hedge fund type investors. But Bonnie, that's very, very almost not true at all today. Obama federalized the lending system where today the federal government owns around 87% of all student loan debt. There's still a pretty good sized tranche of these older style loans that are bought and sold, sliced and diced on Wall Street. That is true. These FFELP loans, about $140 billion last I checked, but that's very small part of the deal now. Private investors on private student loans are still a very strong part of this game. And like, look at that asshole, Anthony Nato from SoFi. He was lobbying as hard as I've ever seen anybody lobby, trying to get the lending system turned back on last like June 1st or something, whenever the last time the student loans were supposed to be turned back on. So the fully private student loan people, the SoFis, the Navians, College Avenue Investing, they still do lobby, but they don't really lobby about federal student loans, but rather private student loans. Hey, Doug Grossman says, hello, Warriors. Scam was also the tuition rates. Yeah, a lot of people like to say, hey, let's get to the cause of this problem, the high cost of college. The high price of college is not the cause of this problem, ladies and gentlemen. It's the other way around. It's this predatory, unconstitutional lending scam that stands behind the whole thing, which has caused the price of college to rise beyond belief, far quicker even than the cost of healthcare over the past 30 years. I kid you not. That all starts with the bad lending system. And the badness of that lending system all goes back to the removal of bankruptcy protections, the removal of statutes of limitations from these loans. But bankruptcy is the most important, guys. It all comes back to bankruptcy. It's the core of this problem. And why the other student loan advocacy groups out there aren't fighting for bankruptcy is just, frankly, it's suspicious to me. I'm just going to leave it at that. Doug Grossman says, donate if you can. $20 a month helps out a lot. Our members have helped keep Alan going. Thank God to him. Well, thank you, Doug. I don't want to. Just please donate if you could. I suck at fundraising, guys. We don't need a lot. We can't do it on nothing. That's all I know. And lately our costs have gone up quite a bit to like $3-4 grand a year, a month, I should say, because of email expense and stuff like that. So just please help. I'm a terrible fundraiser. Get a hat. bit.ly/SLJ hats if you want a hat. Okay. Bonnie Valent says loads of adjunct professors in major debt qualifying for food stamps due to the college racket. Yeah, the adjunct professors live in a special circle of hell on the student loan problem, Bonnie. Not only are they just overwhelmed with student loan debt, typically, the colleges pay them shit. They're at-will employees. They can be fired like that. They have no benefits. Colleen Evans in Hampson says, damn, you work hard. Great piano. Oh, thank you, Colleen. I try. Ed does musical intros all the time. And so a couple months ago, I was filling in for Ed. So I started playing piano. So now I just do it because why the hell not? Nobody watches the first couple of minutes anyways. Vanjian Roo says, will the bill be voted on by election day? It won't be voted on by the full Senate and House, Vanjie, no. And that, the Democrats are playing with fire. If they've got a very strong headwind up, and, I don't know, what people are going to think if they're like, okay, I'm supposed to vote now. The Democrats, they say they want to return bankruptcy, but they haven't done it yet. So I don't know. Are those people going to vote for Democrats? Are they going to get off their asses? I don't know. If I was the Democrats, I would railroad this sucker through as quickly as possible while they have the chance. But that's just me. Hey, Jerry Eicher says most Democrats aren't talking about how to stop predatory lending with student loans, and Republicans aren't talking about how to stop predatory lending with student loans. You're exactly right, Jerry. The politicians completely ignore the nub of this problem, which is that Congress created a predatory lending scam. That is the problem. That's always been the core of the problem. And that's something that most members of Congress never like to talk about. So Britt Dahl says what the House companion bill will be. It will be a companion bill to S-2598. It won't be exactly the same. It'll frankly be a little bit stronger. So we're going to have to see how that all plays out. There's going to be a reconciliation that happens. So I hope that's clear. I'm just going to kind of blow through all the comments here. Bonnie says, sorry about the typos. No problem, Bonnie. Yeah, the CEOs of all the student loan companies, whether they're private or not, some of the worst student loan companies out there, Bonnie, are non-profits. I kid you not. Pound for pound, the worst student loan company in the country is called ECMC. They make their living defeating student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. They are the most vicious, vile, creepy, and evil student loan company. And that includes, compared terrible companies like Navient and Sally Mae and FIA and many other terrible, terrible companies. They're a nonprofit. So, so yeah, you can point to Wall Street, and there is that, like I said earlier. But this isn't so much about investors and Wall Street stuff as much as it was 12 years ago. It's still greed, whether it's Wall Street greed or whether it's Washington, D.C. greed, or whether it's a private company, a privately held greed, whether it's nonprofit greed. Still greed, guys. This is truly the most heinous, viciously unconstitutional, predatory lending scam in modern American history. Like going back to the days of, like, even before our Constitution was ratified. Like then maybe you could find some debt that was maybe a little more onerous because there was debtor's prison and stuff like that. But I'm telling you guys, we are up against a historically terrible, nationally threatening loan scam. Very sad day today, but glad for the good news. Oh, that's a good point. We have the Queen's passing, which I don't think you're talking about, but this is indeed the anniversary of September 11th. So anyhow, we try to focus on student loans here in this group, if you haven't noticed. And we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, by the way. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, you're very welcome here. Very rarely will you ever hear me talk about other issues. And if I do, I only talk about them in as much as they pertain to our fight for student loan justice. So we try and stay away from stuff. Doug Grossman says S2598 must be passed in 4 weeks. If the Democrats are smart, Doug, you're right. If the Democrats are smart, they will get this thing done. They will get it railroaded through, do whatever they need to do, get this sucker signed by the president in roughly, I'd say, 4 weeks, truly. Because early voting is going to start the first couple of weeks in October. So they could put things off to November 8th, but I think that would play against them. Let's do it. Kick ass. Mike Cheney says, oh, by the way, we're going to be looking for people for potential congressional testimony. Specifically, we're looking for older people. And I know we got a lot of older people in this group. We're looking for veterans. We're looking for people who do dirty jobs like plumbing, electrical, truck drivers. I know Michael Cheney drives a truck, for example. We're looking for people who went to vocational institutes like Mike Rowe, dirty jobs type stuff, those kind of people. Personally, I would like to get a bunch of people from the South because the South is hit far worse. I would love to get a truck driver who went to a Voc Tech from Tennessee, if we could find them, or Florida, or North Carolina, or South Carolina, North Carolina. I would love to find people. So if you are interested in potentially doing congressional testimony, it may just be written. You probably don't have to fly to Washington and sit at a table and talk. You probably don't have to do all that. But if you're interested, send me an email, Alan, ALAN, @studentloanjustice.org. Ann Cooper says, Alan, thank you very much for doing the heavy lifting. Hey, Ann, this is what we do. This is what we've been doing for 17 and a half very long years, guys. I want these loans gone. Can you not tell? Does it not come through? I want these loans gone. I want this problem solved. We will not see meaningful from Biden or probably any other president unless and until we get the constitutionally enshrined threat of bankruptcy returned. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy, guys. Very few people will actually have to file. It's just having the threat of bankruptcy back on our side that is so freaking important. Hey, Demetria Whittier says, can you tell us again how to answer the people that say this is going to make our taxes go higher if they cancel? What I like to say, Demetria, is, you think student loan cancellation is going to cause your taxes to be higher? First of all, don't flatter yourself, dude. Second of all, the taxpayers have made a king's ransom on this lending racket for the past 30 to 40 years. In 2012, they were posting $50 billion in profit on interest on this lending scam. And that probably has not changed much over the years. Don't believe the nonsense about the people who say, oh, the student loan is going to cost the tax. It's nonsense. The vast majority of that $1.6 trillion is interest and fees and penalties all wrapped into new loans and new fees and more interest. Like my best estimate is probably something like 85 or 90% of all that money is nonsense. It's monopoly money. It's profit. And this is for a lending system that was never supposed to make a profit, by the way. The loans were originally supposed to be free of interest. Well, now here today, $100 billion a year in interest alone is added onto our backs. They could cancel all federally owned loans tomorrow, Demetria, and the taxpayer would be doing just fine. In fact, they could be breaking about even. You can't say that about PPP loans. Those all added to the national debt. Those all required money to be drawn from the Treasury. You can cancel these federal student loans, federally owned student loans, without needing one dime from the Treasury, without adding one penny to the national debt. And like I said, on balance, the taxpayers would be about breaking even because of all the profit they've made in the past. And not $1, by the way, would be injected into the economy to cause inflation. Nobody's been paying on these loans for more than 2.5 years now. Them canceling the loans isn't going to be a whole bunch of money falls into anybody's lap. Not $1 will fall into anyone's lap because nobody was paying for the past 2.5 years. So no new money will be printed. No, not even $1 will be injected into the economy to cause inflation. I hope that answers your question, Demetria. Go to and I know this stuff is it can be confusing to people for the first time. Go to our Medium site, studentloanjustice.medium.com. And you can see headlines answering pretty much every question you could possibly ask, like the ones you just answered. The ones that you just asked, Demetria. So they're quick, they're easy to read, they're very short reads. You need to know that stuff so that you can be a very fine, fit, and fierce student loan justice warrior. We need you fighting with us. I can't tell you. And I know you've been fighting, Demetria. I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm talking to everybody out there. We need you fighting. We need you spreading the word about this group, guys. This is a big problem. And this is your problem, if you haven't noticed. And we will fail unless you fight. There's no other groups out there doing this. It's just this group. That's it. It's just us. So either we sink or we swim. And that's the reality, guys. You have no idea how important you are. And at the same time, it only takes one person to make that perfect phone call, to get that one Republican governor to stand up and say, that's enough. No, I'm not doing this anymore. Cancel these loans or return bankruptcy or whatever. Ron DeSantis will not let the great state of Florida be conquered and enslaved by these loans. It only takes one person to get the media to do a drop-dead, jaw-dropping story on the student loan issue that could change everything. So in that regards, you could be very, 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 very special and important. But right now, nobody is so special and important that they can get away with not doing anything. You got to put your own work in on this block. And at a minimum, as I said, that starts with you doing, at a minimum, our daily actions. There are our daily actions. bit.ly/SLJ daily action. You can also find our daily actions through the website. So I hope that answers your question, Demetria. It looks like, Ann Cooper says Wolf Richter at Wolf Street has a piece dated August 7th on student loans, subtitle, Education Industrial Complex is laughing all the way to the bank. Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't know what he says in that article, but the federal government has been making money on defaulted student loans since 2004 and before. And all of these income-driven repayment programs like income contingent repayment, income-based repayment, IBR, public service loan forgiveness. The vicious irony is that they are disqualifying so many people out of those programs. The people they are disqualifying out are left owing far, far more than had they never tried in the first place. So they are booking actual profits on these income-driven repayment programs. That sounds crazy, right? It's like, yeah, we got all these forgiveness programs, and we're actually making money on them because we're not canceling any loans. It's just ridiculous. bit.ly/not losing, all one word lowercase. Read it for yourself, and it's very clear. Colleen says, how do we send money to you? Oh, thank you for the question, Colleen. Let me dial that in. Yeah, we're hoping to be able to, we are needing and hoping to be able to raise around, I think it's $900 this coming week, which is quite a bit. By our standards, it's quite a lot. So if you can help there. And thank you, by the way. Thanks to everybody. I can't believe we've been doing this off of donations for the past, since around 2011, I think. So over a decade, 11 years, we've been running this thing purely on donations. That in itself is pretty freaking miraculous. We lived in a hostel in Washington, D.C. for 3 years. I could tell you how rough it's been, but I won't waste your time. There's been bridges and homeless shelters and going to bed hungry involved. Anyways, I'm going to cut it short, guys. I think I've gone a little too far, a little too long tonight. I see we've got a lot of questions that I won't be able to get to. Don't count on the Biden student loan cancellation, guys. Even if you have less than $20,000 in loans, and you have the Pell Grant, or you have less than 10,000, which most of you I don't think do. Don't count on it, guys. Do not count on that. Many shoes will drop between now and whenever they say they're going to cancel. They've left everything up in the air. They've been vague. They've been ambiguous. Guys, we've seen this trick before. Don't fall for it. Please don't fall for it. The worst trick in the world is them foisting yet another fake student loan cancellation gimmick on us in exchange as a very cheap substitute for the return of the constitutional bankruptcy protections that should have never effing been taken away. I don't care if you would ever file or never file for bankruptcy. It does not matter. I don't care. And you shouldn't either. Everybody with student loans needs to be fighting to get this constitutionally enshrined right back. Spread the word. We need your help. So I will be back tomorrow, guys. Things are breaking quickly on this on a daily basis. So check back early and often. Do our daily actions. That's the most important thing I can tell you. But do more than that. Be smart, be clever, creative. Surprise us, would you? We love good surprises from our members who go out on their own and make stuff happen towards the end of getting S2598 and its soon to be named companion bill passed into law, hopefully in the next 6 weeks. So good luck, everybody, with your activities going forward. Keep us posted. We love to brag on accomplishments, so tell us about all your accomplishments. Good luck. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless. And Godspeed, everyone. Have a good week as well.